This is Svetlana, a 20-year-old girl from Russia. Riddled by war outside and within, Russia's forces have seemed to lose morale and just want the fighting to be over with. Just when there seems to be no hope left, Maria Bochkareva steps in.
Attention all you cowards, I have the most disappointment for you. You are men, you should be protecting Mother Russia. Instead you are all dying and retreating. You are disappointing all of us. As per usual, it's time for the women of this country to take control of you weak men and win the war.
Bochkareva went to Alexander Kerensky, the Minister of War, to get permission to fight amongst the men. Yes, we must support these women and allow them to fight for our country. Maybe then you poor rat men of this country will get it together and start putting in real effort to win this war. Svetlana looked on longingly upon Alexander and Bochkareva, mesmerized by the power of women. Russian leadership pushed for women's forces to shame the weakened men into fighting.
Mama, please, even if you do not give me permission, I'll go anyway. It is my life's purpose. Look at all the women changing the world. I can take classes at night to learn how to read and how to fight to be a strong woman.
Svetlana joined the ranks of the 1st Russian Women's Battalion of Death. The 1st Russian Women's Battalion of Death was one of 15 female battalions that were formed under the Ministry of War. Svetlana was so excited to join the war effort, but didn't realize how intensive the training conditions were.
All you loose women and those of low morals, we don't need you here. We only need the strongest women. Those seen enjoying themselves by laughing or flirting with the instructors will be banished. We have no need for you here.
So what were your experiences in training?
I've never worked that hard ever in my life. My head was shaved down in order to masculinize me and unite me with the other women. When I first joined the training in the camps, the girls idolized Bochkareva. I remember this one girl, Gretchen. It was said that one time she was struck in the face by Bochkareva. The rumor was that afterwards, she thanked her for it.
Svetlana had many friends in the battalion, but unfortunately she saw them go one by one. Bochkareva was training these women all day and forcing them to take reading and writing classes at night. The work was non-stop and very intense that many women dropped out. When the battalion was first created, 2,000 women between the ages of 18 and 40 signed up. However, when put through training, only 300 remained. Just when Svetlana thought her days would have no end, she and the other women were sent to the Kerensky offensive.
Ladies, the day has come. We are off to fight in the Kerensky offensive. Here we will occupy a trench near Smorgon and fight alongside the men. I am proud of each and every one of you, and am confident that you are all prepared to properly defend our country's honor.
When the heat of the battle arrived, the tides were turned. The men refused to fight and retreated. However, Bochkareva and her battalion fought as they were told, getting to advance into German territory. Even though the men stayed back, Bochkareva and the women pushed forward. While this was a significant gain, the intense fight was all for nothing, as the male relief units never arrived in support of the women's death battalion, forcing them to retreat back to where they began.
Even though this is a loss, this was a victory for us women. We fought alongside the disgusting men, as they shamed us by calling us prostitutes and sexually harassing us. But who are the ones who retreated and left us on the battlefield?
While Svetlana's future was unknown, she wrote every day to her sister, Nadia, telling her of her own experiences. Nadia, who was 18, followed in her sister's footsteps, joining the 2nd Official Women's Battalion. She was one of 1,400 women in the Petrograd Women's Battalion. After months of training, Nadia and the battalion were called to the Palace Square for a final review before being sent to the front. Passing with flying colors and excited to be fighting amongst men, Nadia was ultimately let down. After the parade, the government ordered the Petrograd Battalion to defend the provisional government at the Winter Palace. Infuriated, the women refused.
We will not stand for this. Send us to the front to fight for our country. We will not sit here to guard the government after all this training.
The battalion went to guard nearby supplies instead. However, when the women arrived, they were overwhelmed by pro-Bolshevik forces who were fighting within Russia. These men threatened and even raped some of the women, forcing the Petrograd Women's Battalion to surrender.
Dearest sister, I am disappointed. Once again, men have ruined everything. We went to our posts and were overwhelmed by men. I hate to even call them men. They were dogs. We were driven from our posts, and those who couldn't escape were raped. One of my friends even committed suicide rather than falling to those dogs. I only wonder what will become of us.
With both Nadia and Svetlana facing disappointment, what were the futures of these girls in the battalions? All the battalions ended up disbanding, as the government could not control the growing unrecognized organization of female troops. Furthermore, the government did not have the funds to supply resources for the fighting women, especially since their initial goal of raising male morale failed. With the loss of many women volunteers, the government did not give up and tried to move the battalions to work on guarding railroads and supplies. However, this effort was unsuccessful as men complained their jobs were being taken away and were afraid of being forced to be sent to the dangerous front. One by one, battalions disbanded, and it was declared official on November 30th, 1917, with the new Bolshevik government. While this was the official end of women's battalions, it was not the end of Russian women in the forces, as many would go on to fight in the Russian Civil War. Go. You're supposed to also be talking.
What? Oh.
Do one of these things.
Is that racist?
Why is that? I saw you from the corner of my eyes. I lost it. I lost it. They were overwhelmed by pro-Bolshevik.
In that meme where he's wearing the scarf.
I was recording.